Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Devin Allen, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Dickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here in a minute.
Davey Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4. Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation today will be delivered by our own chaplain, Wesley McDuffie, from Tarrant County. And after the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Lord, we thank you today. We thank you for just being who you are in our lives. We realize, Lord, that a lot of people are not as blessed as some of us are. For that reason, Lord, we pray your blessings upon those that are without. As we go through this Christmas season to some, Lord, we pray that we all keep the right frame of mind of why we are here today, why we're celebrating this occasion. Then, Lord, we just pray for this county as a whole. A lot of things go on in this county. There's a lot of people that are without. There's a lot of people that are with. But Lord, you know each and every one of them. Now I pray that you meet us all where we are, yes, and you bless us according to your will. Father, that whatever we do going forward is to make this county one of the best that there's ever been. But Lord, I realize we can only do that if we do it together. Father, whether it be the poor and the rich, whether it be, Lord, the crooked or the straight, we all have to work together in order to make this county one of the best counties there is in this United States of America. But Lord, thank you for the leadership. Thank you for the leadership that will continue to guide us and lead us according to your will and your direction. And then, Lord, as we celebrate these holidays, keep us safe. Father, watch over each and every one of us as we travel, as we move about, as we cook, whatever we do, Lord. Let our hearts and mind be stayed on thee. And Lord, we'll give you all the glory, we'll give you all the praise because it belongs to you. Yes. It's in Jesus' name I pray and ask it all. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Chaplain. Have a good holiday.
Sir, thank you. And that was from the voice of God.
Amen. And we're going to make you stand outside next time.
Well, we can do that too.
I know you can.
Your Honor, may I be recognized?
You bet.
This is the last meeting of the court year, and traditionally, we've had a choir on this occasion. For those of you who came this morning, especially to hear the children's choir, I apologize. They will not be with us today. Their director is out of town. Their principal is in the hospital. It's a comedy of errors. So we're not able to bring you a choir this morning. I hope that you enjoyed the Christmas repast. There is still food in the hallway, and it is excellently delicious.
Please eat it.
I am a poor substitute for a choir, but I'm going to ask you to stand and join with me in singing Hark the Herald. Angels sing. Here we go. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Peace on earth and mercy mild, God and sinners reconciled.
thank you, Commissioner. We're sorry that the kids weren't able to make it, but we appreciate your leading us in that little bit of holiday cheer. It was great. Mr. Manius.
Yeah, no, this is, so at first it's very hard to follow the chaplain, but Commissioner Brooks, it's impossible to follow what you just said. Thank you. Members of the court, we have several announcements as it relates to the agenda this morning. We have 3 on the county administrator section. We can first go to item 9A14. This is amendment number 1 to Age Outreach Program. And this is Orion White. We have a corrected court communication in your folder. We had to make a minor adjustment to that. Also under the administrator section, item 9A20. We had to make a correction, a minor adjustment to the attachment itself. Item 9A22. Once again, this is a revision to the attachment. Under facilities management, item 9F1, we corrected and attached an exhibit A to that. By the way, all this information is in your court book. And then finally, members of the court, on purchasing, item 9I19, we're going to ask that we hold that particular item.
What is that?
It's under purchasing, item 9I19. This is the ILA with the city of Katy.
Okay.
We'll bring that back. We'll bring that back at the next court meeting. Also, Your Honor, members of the court, we have 2 audience participation forms when it comes to the administrator section on item number 1. One is a presenter and one is just filing it with the court. Thank you, Your Honor.
Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of December the 3rd.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Allen,
Yes,
I think you have a few resolutions.
I do. Yes, it is actually quite an exciting morning. We have folks from throughout Precinct 2, the first of which are a group of 3 distinguished individuals who all 3 served on the Arlington City Council. So I would ask at this time if Lana Wolf and Michael Glaspie and Catherine Wallman would please come up here to the podium. As they make their way up, I'm going to move that we accept all of these 3 resolutions. I won't read them each in their entirety, but I will say that prior to my serving in office, I was a staffer and had the honor of working with each of them and appreciate their contributions, not just to the city of Arlington, but the many, 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 many hats that they wore throughout the community over the years. And of course, Lana Wolf served for 16 years on the Arlington City Council, and Michael Glaspie served for 7 years on the Arlington City Council. Of course, he also served on the Arlington ISD School Board and is a veteran. We appreciate his service to our country. And then Catherine Wallman, who is known as a transportation champion, and she served on the Arlington City Council for 16 years. So with that, I move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
With the caveat that Catherine tell us how long she served on the JPS
That's
Board
true.
of Managers.
Yes. Yep.
That was like 9 years.
9 years.
Yes.
So then if you all would actually join us up here on the dais, and I will present your resolutions and we'll take a group picture.
Y'all go over here.
Very nice.
It's got to flash 3 times, so don't get too excited.
Thank you.
glasses?
All right, thank you.
Hey, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome to make any comments. Y'all head on down there and make any comments you'd like to make.
I will say, Judge, that I thank you for the honor of this proclamation and also the privilege of serving the city and the county, which also trickles down to the state. So we know that local government and how important it is. So thank you for recognizing us.
I just appreciate all the opportunities to make collaborations where we can strengthen our municipalities, the county. You have a loud voice, and we love it, and we love working with you, and we've got some great partnerships, and Devon's awesome to work with, so thank you so much.
She is.
Yeah.
Just want to thank you very much for this recognition. It's been a blessing to me to be able to serve this community and work with you. And thank you so very much, Commissioner Allen, and continue the great work that you're doing. And we all need to lock arms and work together in our community. God bless you.
Amen.
I too want to just echo what Devin said and what we've all very much believe in the leadership, the dedication to public service that each one of y'all have made over the last couple of decades, and we very, very, very much appreciate your service and the time that you spent away from family and home and just a lot of other things. So we thank you very much for that. Thank you. Guess you got a couple more?
Yes, I do. Yes. So this next resolution is recognizing an exceptional young man. His name is Gabriel Vivoni. I will read this into the record. Whereas on the evening of Monday, November 4th, as he was returning from swim practice, 17-year-old Gabriel Vivoni noticed a bright glow at his neighbor's home. And whereas he soon realized that the house was on fire and that there were flames coming from the garage area of the home, so he attempted to alert the neighbors but got no response. And whereas Mr. Vivoni then called 911 and notified his parents, but remaining concerned, he wanted to make certain that no one was inside the home. And whereas he then made the quick decision to enter the neighbor's burning garage to try to access the home, and once inside, discovered his 11-year-old neighbor. And whereas Gabriel got the neighbor out safely before the home was destroyed by the fire. And whereas the Mansfield Fire Department recognized Gabriel with the Citizens Meritorious Act Award on November 11th, and now, therefore, be resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby express our admiration and appreciation of Gabriel Vivoni for his quick thinking, selfless actions, and bravery, in witness whereof we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 10th day of December 2019. And with that, I move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And I'd like to ask that Gabriel and his father, William, please join me at the podium.
Wait a minute, you gotta get one more.
Oh, one more, sorry.
Thank you.
Gabriel, thank you very much for stopping and for not just saying, okay, somebody else will take care of it, for stepping up. Thank you very, very much for doing that.
Now, and I'd like to ask for, there's a host of folks who have joined us this morning to receive this next resolution. I'm going to list you all by name because I want to make sure that I don't miss anyone, and then I know that you each play important roles in the community. I know it was somewhere.
Isn't
Oh,
it
there we
right
go.
here?
This is my updated list. Okay. Teamwork. So before I read this resolution into the record, I'm going to ask that Amanda Sullins, the Executive Director of Arlington ISD, join us. Courtney Shavera, Alan Beck, who serves as the President for the Arlington ISD Education Foundation, my colleague, Judge Mary Tom Cornett, who serves as the parliamentarian for the Education Foundation. Also, Michael Jarrett, who's the Assistant Treasurer for the Education Foundation, as well as being the President of Worthington National Bank. And then Jean Paul Turner and Tom Cravens. If you all, as I read this into the record, you can go ahead and make your way up to the podium. Arlington ISD Education Foundation is celebrating 25 years and is a nonprofit organization that was formed to serve the students, teachers, and staff of the Arlington ISD School District, or AISD. And whereas the foundation is separate from the school district, supportive of their needs, and has made a difference in the lives of AISD family, giving the classrooms through innovative teacher grants and academic initiatives since 1994. And whereas the foundation's all-volunteer board of directors is comprised of highly experienced, successful representatives from the business and service sectors, educators, and the community at large. And whereas the board governs the foundation, while day-to-day functions are handled by the executive director and administrative staff. And whereas since its inception, the foundation has awarded more than $2.2 million in grant funds for exceptional teaching and has provided funds to assist with the specific needs of at-risk students, as well as supporting teachers with their continuing education efforts. And whereas through their efforts, the Arlington ISD Education Foundation is ensuring that Arlington ISD students have every opportunity for a rewarding educational experience and a bright future. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby wish to congratulate the Arlington ISD Education Foundation on the occasion of their 25th anniversary and commend them for the extraordinary support that they provide to the teachers, students, and staff of Arlington ISD. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 10th day of December 2019. And with that, I move for approval.
Second. Motion is second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Y'all turn around and get 3 flashes. Don't get out there too far because we don't have a wide angle lens on this camera.
Commissioner Allen and our entire Commissioners Court, thank you so much for inviting us to celebrate 25 years of the Arlington ISD Education Foundation. It is a special honor to be here today to receive your recognition. Thank you for recognizing the long-term work of our board and the entire AEF community. Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it. Until next year.
I guess that's right. It will be next year when next we have our full meeting. Court members, you have before you the consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have a public hearing today, I believe.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Morning.
Today we are requesting that the court conduct a public hearing to consider the renaming of a portion of Western Center Boulevard to Eagle Mountain Dam Road in Precinct 4. This is something that is supported by Tarrant County 911, the Tarrant Appraisal District, and we've coordinated with the City of Fort Worth as well.
At this time, I'll open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak to this matter. There appearing to be none, then I'll close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. The only thing I'll say is that this road goes by many names. because it starts out as Cheek Sparger, and then it goes to, I think, Mid-Cities Boulevard, and then I think it goes to maybe Watauga, and then it goes to back to Mid-Cities, and then I think it goes to Western Center Boulevard, and now it's gonna. We ought to have an underlying, formerly known as, or something along that line. But with that, please vote, and the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
We can't wait for the next name for a segment of that road. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have 8 additional items for the Court to consider this morning. The first, we're requesting that the Commissioners' Court cast their votes, all 505 votes, as relates to the Board of Directors for the Tarrant Appraisal District.
And we have an audience participation who wishes to speak and one that does not. Rich Diot, come forward and state your name, address, and any comments. We have a 3-minute time limit. Rich.
Thank you, Judge and Commissioners. My name is Rich Diot. I live at 112 Keystone in Southlake, and I am running for the Tarrant County Appraisal District Board of Directors. And the reason I am is because I've been involved in property tax issues for a number of years, and I've heard from local elected leaders from all over the state when I've talked to them that their appraisal systems are broken, and in Tarrant County it's been pretty focused. So I've gone so far and gotten a little over 700 votes from ISDs and city councils. I was nominated by 3 city councils because they want this problem fixed, and they think I can help do that. And so that's why I'm asking for your votes today. The system really is broken. I'll tell you, it's not just the elected leaders, it's also their constituents who are outraged by this. And I know, I've been talking to people that I know. I have a pretty good network, but what I haven't done is ask for y'all to be buried in emails. But there are people who are very interested in this issue, and they've, over the last probably 3 weeks, have kind of latched on to my campaign to be their voice. And so while I appreciate the support, I'm sorry if it's caused any particular burden on y'all. I know it's frustrating to try to be doing your job and be inundated with this kind of communication. So, but at the same time, we all want our constituents to be vocal. We want to know what they think. So my approach to this has been to try to figure out ways, because this is universal. It doesn't matter. I know a lot of people who don't want to pay higher taxes, but they can afford them, and I know people who can't. And those people, particularly when I've been in Austin working on these issues, have made their way down there to complain, and they think they're going to lose their property. They're going to lose their house because of this. Low income and fixed income people suffer the most from it. So long story short, I'm running to try to fix those things. There are software issues. I've just heard from the county clerk that the number of TAD lawsuits has spiked here this year. I'm sorry, I missaid that, district clerk. And that is indicative of the problem. I think the barrage that y'all have felt, and again I apologize for that, has been a result of that as well. Here's my commitment to you. This isn't the only time you're going to see me. These problems are big, and it's going to require some coordination. I intend to get on the board and try to figure out what needs to be done to be fixed. And I'm going to be back. And I'm going to come and talk to you and try to work together to do this, because we'll need everybody's sphere of influence coming to bear on the problems that TAD has. And they're big problems. So I'm going to be back, and I'm going to be talking to you. You all have access to me, and I will be very responsive to you. I am in every area of my life, and I will be in this. I'm very committed to this. I don't believe in blowing things up, but I do believe I'm determined to help fix these problems. So I would appreciate all your votes. I will be back when as many votes as you can give me, and I'll be back. You'll hear from me, and I'll work with you, and maybe we can bring everybody together around this issue and just fix it rather than have fights over it. So
thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
The other individual that asked to speak, or did not ask to speak, but said wished for us to cast votes for Rich, was Devin Pipes, 6312 Brian Wick Lane, North Richland Hills, zip code 76182. Comments? Motions?
I would make a comment. I know Mr. Diot for probably the past 15 years, and have found him to be a man of extremely high integrity, and a person who pretty much does what he says he'll do. And so I would entertain a motion. I believe we have 505 votes.
That's correct.
That we, Mr. Diot, 50 votes, and Catherine Wildman, 455 votes.
I'll second that so we can discuss it. I guess I'll make a couple of comments. One, I think in looking at the votes that we've gotten that have been cast so far, and I know there's been some articles about whether that's the right thing to do or not, and, you know, my comment, I guess, about the whole system is, even though we are prohibited to call and to direct or to even try to direct any of the board members on the system or appraisals, that whole process, I think it doesn't look to be independent when the people who are electing the board members are the entities that ultimately end up receiving the benefit of the appraisals. So I wish that would be changed. Many of the things that we feel like are wrong, or that I feel like is wrong with the appraisal system, are things that can only be corrected by law or changes in the law with the legislature. I do not feel it's appropriate for them to run, for the PAD board members to run for election as we do, because, you know, I can't see how you can run on anything other than I'm going to lower your taxes, and that's ridiculous from a perspective of it's supposed to be a fair system, and that's what we're shooting for. But I still think that it just doesn't look proper when we're the ones electing the board members. So I wish they would come up with some other system by which to do that. I likewise know Mr. Diot and have known him, as well as Catherine Wallman. We've looked at the votes. My perception or my belief is that by us giving Mr. Diot 50 votes, that we will assure his election, and that by giving the remainder to Catherine, that we, with a little help from our friends, will also guarantee her election. And that's the point. We could split them all up and it would be meaningless. But I feel like that by doing it this way, we may very likely be able to say we took a part in the election of 2 of the board members. And all that does is basically, you know, again, my hope is that they'll make sure that whoever is on those appeal boards listen, that the staff is attentive, because sometimes those are the complaints that I hear, and that they have some, you know, that they watch over some method of the appraisal process, whether it be through software or whether it be through other things, that allows for the most accurate appraisal of all of the property in Tarrant County. Because part of what I hear continuously is that I've got a house very similar to the one of my neighbor across the street, and yet there's hundreds of thousands of dollars difference between those appraised amounts. Or I hear that, you know, that it's, that our appraisal went up 50% or 150% in 1 year, and I just find that very difficult to believe, if it was properly valued a year before, that it could possibly go up that much in one particular year. So while I think there's very limited things that the board can do, a lot is going to be dependent upon the legislature. I do feel like that if we put people on there who have some knowledge of the system and can be open-minded about some of the things that they can change, but also aware of the things they can't, then the citizens are going to be better off from that perspective. Are there any other comments or discussions at this time? Then please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Your Honor, Ms. Burgess would like to address the court very quickly.
Good morning.
Judge, Commissioners, thank you so much for your time. I didn't intend on speaking to you, but I will answer to a few of the items that Rich brought up. Through our office, we are able, and I've shared information with Rodney for one of his fellow parishioners. No one wants to take a home from someone. No one wants to tax anyone out of their home. And through my office, we are able to make payment plans with individuals to make sure that they can stay in their home. They can also delay the payment of those taxes until death or their personal sale of the home to make those payments as well. So no one wants to take a home from anyone. The best person to be in that home is the owner of that home. And so by actions that are available by myself and by Tarrant Appraisal District, as given by the Texas legislature, we're able to do that. So no one is better suited to be in their home than the owner of their home. So as an education opportunity, I wanted to share that with everyone and anyone that might be watching online. These availabilities are online, and we do them regularly because no one is better suited to be in their home than the owner of their home. And I'm honored to be able to do that for you and for the county. Thank you.
Members of the court, we can go to item number 2. We're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve an ILA between Tarrant County and the Tarrant Appraisal District for the Sheriff's Department Security Services.
This is security at meetings of the TAD?
Actually, what this will do will provide a deputy sheriff to be at TAD full-time and serve as security at the entrance. They do that now on a part-time basis, and TAD would like to make that full-time. The reimbursement is to cover the total cost.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the court, we can go to item number 3, where the Commissioners Court is requested to approve an interlocal agreement between Tarrant County and the City of Fort Worth for the regulation of game rooms operating within their municipality.
Move approval.
Second.
We have an enthusiastic motion and a second.
And I hope this will be the first of many such interlocal agreements with our cities.
Yes. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And as it relates to that particular item, I want to recognize Russell Schaffner from our office. He was the lead on that. We had a couple of guys and girls in our office that worked on this also, plus the district attorney's office. And so we appreciate their efforts. This moved really quickly.
Thank you all.
Members of the court, we can go to item number 4. We're requesting that the court approve a contract for professional design services with Jim Duff Illustration and Design as it relates to the county's 2020 census program.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
For the next 4 items, Ms. McMillan is here to address the court.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Good morning.
For my first item, earlier this year, the City of Arlington representatives presented a status update on the Arlington downtown tours and presented information regarding their proposal to extend the term of the zone and amend the plans for the zone. As background, that Arlington downtown zone is about 533 acres, and it was established in 1998 for a 20-year TIF. And the county and hospital district were both participating at 100% of their increment of their M&O rate. Since the inception of the zone, Tarrant County has contributed just over $2.5 million to the zone. and the taxable value of that area has increased about $170 million, but most of that has been in the last 10 years. And in order to continue to facilitate the growth and redevelopment of the zone, that is why the Arlington City Council has extended the term of the zone for an additional 20 years to 2038 and amended the project and financing plan to include an additional $35 million in infrastructure improvements. So now they are asking the county to participate, and you have before you tax participation agreements in the tax increment financing zone that would put the county participating at 70% of the M&O rate at a cap of $7,907,710, and the hospital district's agreement participates at 50% of its M&O rate, with a cap of $5,891,961, and we're asking for your approval of these agreements.
Move for approval.
I'll second it. Any discussion? What are the boundaries of the TIF? Is that what you're showing up here now?
That's the downtown zone.
And so what are the boundaries of it? I mean, is it square like that? I mean, is the whole square the...
It's, well, you can see as it kind of comes around, the boundaries, mainly the colored squares. You can see the dotted lines.
Okay, I see the dotted lines on this one.
Collins. The zone has stayed the same. That's the same zone that was. Nothing, the boundaries haven't been extended. It's only the term of the zone. And, you know, for the first 10 years, very little, it took a while for everything to get going. And that's why they are coming back, now that things are happening down there, to come back and revisit that zone. Much like some of our other ones have done.
There's quite a bit that's happening too. Yeah.
My only unreadiness is the continued participation of the hospital district. I think they ought to be let out.
So again, under this zone, it was originally at a participation of only the M&O rate, and this is continued to in this extended contract. The M&O rate obviously will actually go down in the coming years for the hospital district as we issue debt, because then your interest and sinking fund. So actually it won't be a full 50% because it's 50% of the M&O rate. So as you separate your tax rate from maintenance and operations and interest and sinking fund, which your debt, if your debt goes up, then that maintenance and operation rate goes down. So it'll end up only really being, around 35 to 40% of their tax rate as that changes.
Wasn't the hospital district in for 100%?
They were in for 100%
so
before, right?
And because I too share those concerns.
And I think there's some, I share Commissioner Brooks's thoughts on JPS. I think there are some things that are there that may be ongoing that we're going to just have to look at on a case-by-case basis. I think new stuff, and I understand that we're adding things here, but I think there's, on some of the newer things, we've pretty well said we want the hospital district excluded, but I think on some of the existing, we need to just review that on a case-by-case basis. Any other questions or comments? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
The next item we have for you is a request from the City of Fort Worth and the Tax Increment Financing District Number 4, the Southside TIF, to approve the historic site tax exemption that was provided for 125 South Main Street within the zone. This was done by the City of Fort Worth. It provides a 10-year freeze on the incremental taxes after the building was reused. It's an incentive to preserve and protect the historically significant buildings. This is one that was in that zone. The only reason we're doing this is because, per state law, because it is actually freezing those taxes, which would be part of the increment that's generated into the TIF zone. The entities that are participating in funding the TIF zone must approve the use of this. It will not impact any of the funding that this county or the hospital district is putting into the TIF zone. So we're just simply asking for the county's approval of the resolution, providing approval of the historic site tax exemption.
This is a carve-out for one property.
Correct, just one property. And it's only for the 10-year period. It'll go for 10 years. The zone only lasts until 2022, so it's nearing completion.
Move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
The next item I have for you today is a resolution approving the issuance of retirement facility revenue bonds issued by the Tarrant County Cultural Education Facilities Finance Corporation for Methodist Retirement Community Senior Living Fort Worth in an amount not to exceed $150 million. The Tarrant County Cultural Education Facilities Finance Corporation Board of Directors has approved the issuance of these bonds, which will be used to finance improvements for a new healthcare and senior living facility being developed on 19 acres south of Alta Mesa Boulevard between Bryant Irvin Road and Quail Ridge Road. They will consist of 172 independent living units, 40 assisted living units, and 24 assisted living / memory care units. Again, these approvals for this type of bond is only in order for the bonds to be tax exempt and per the IRS code. The county's Cultural Education Facilities Finance Corporation is the issuer of these bonds, and Tarrant County is not liable for that.
Move approval.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And finally, we have before you another tax-exempt bond approval, and this is a request simply to approve the issuance by the Whitney Cultural Education Facilities Finance Corporation of financing an amount of $10 million to be used by Texas Wesleyan University to refinance previously issued debt. Again, this is only for IRS purposes because the facilities are located here in Tarrant County.
It is Nee, not Lee.
I'm sorry?
It is Whitney, not Whitley.
Whitney, not Whitley.
In full disclosure, by way of full disclosure, I am a trustee of Texas Wesleyan University, but I get no personal benefit from this deal. I'm just declaring it.
I'll move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Ms. Tidwell.
Good morning. I have two items I'm asking the court to consider this morning. The first is to approve the release of the $156,569,000 of collateral and accept the substitution of the securities as outlined in your court communique.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And our second item, we are self-insured, and we have an arrangement with our self-insured providers to fund the claims for them to pay the providers. And we've had this for years, as it notes here in the court communication in 2012. We are changing our prescription provider, and so the CVS is referenced, and we're changing our mental health provider. And so this official action that we're requesting is that you authorize the county auditor to fund the prescription and flexible spending account claims without advance approval for Commissioner's Court for each individual transfer as requested by the third-party administrator as in the executed agreements. And so again, we basically have a bank account where they come and need the money to fund the actual claims for the employees. So it's the money, it's the premiums we've collected and the self-insurance funds. It's coming out of the employee benefits account. We're currently doing that, but we're doing it with 2 other vendors. Those vendors are going away, so we need to authorize us to continue that process with CVS and United UHC of Optima.
And this is item 3 on our agenda. We'll come back to item 2 in a minute.
I missed one. Oh, you took that off consent? I didn't realize that was not consent. I'm sorry.
It's not consent on the agenda, but it had it on the.
Oh, okay, you're right. I didn't look at the agenda. I just
So
looked
we're
at the
on item
document.
3 right
Yes,
now,
I'm
just
sorry.
for everybody's.
Yes,
No.
I assumed the other item was consent. I apologize.
I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Now item 2.
Okay, so item 2 was we're asking you to receive and file the auditor's report of the tax office homestead tax exemptions, and you have attached the tax office response, and I'd be happy to try to answer any questions.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes
Thank you.
unanimously. Mr. Wilder?
Morning, Judge and Commissioners.
Good morning, Tom.
It's not? Oh. At any rate, I approach you today to request approval to waive the fees for our web access for the local parole board. As you may recall, quite a few years ago, the legislature gave us responsibility to collect those fees, which we do. They are a condition of parole. All of the court-ordered restitution and fees and whatnot are rarely paid if someone is going to the penitentiary. When they come back, they still have that obligation to pay. We, of course, set up payment plans, but the parole board, let's just say the pen packet is supposed to travel with them. It just doesn't always show up with the inmate when they come out of prison and report to the parole board. This will allow the parole board to look up the exact cost, have a copy of the judgment, all that's imaged, and it will be a labor-saving device, even though state agencies never seem to have the budget to pay. It will be a help to us, given the huge volume and big spike in felony costs or felony cases that has occurred over the last 3 years. We've set 3 record years in a row. We've gone from 16,000 cases, all of this is available on my website. We've gone from 16,000 cases to 21,000 cases in 3 years. So that parole volume will only increase. This will help us deal with that volume without having to add extra help, at least in that area.
Help you deal with it in what respect, Mr. Wilder?
Well, again, we have the responsibility to collect that money when they come out of the penitentiary. So the parole officer wants to see the judgment because most of the time that doesn't come back out of the penitentiary to the parole officer. This will allow them to verify what the people owe and to send them to our office.
So it allows the parole officer to see that without fee.
The court-ordered amounts that are supposed to be paid. So currently, we're doing it for them, and I'd like to automate that where they look up their own. Much like what we did with the DPS when they started gun license checks. Commissioner Johnson even helped us get it. They couldn't even buy a computer. But we set that up where they could do their own license checks instead of us having to do them. They were doing 150 a week. So all of that was automated. That's one of the reasons I'm able to run the office with as few people is we try to automate everything.
There was a similar item on the agenda a few months ago, right? If I remember correctly, with
No.
waiving fees.
Yes, there was, and I'm trying to think.
On the
it was-
parole board?
Not on the parole
No.
board,
Oh.
just the waiver of the fees for.
Oh, yes, that was a state agency, frankly, I've forgotten who it was, yeah. We, from time to time, give them access on all these various agencies that do licensing and things like that. Y'all have always approved those because it helps us on our local work.
Do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Can we vote? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. I might add, there is a possibility, once we get this situation done and actually working with their four offices, we may have to, there's a limit on that number in there. I need to see how all this works. I may have to approach you for a slight expansion if it doesn't work right with what we've got. Thank you.
Does expansion mean extra people?
I beg your pardon?
Does expansion mean extra people?
Not if I can help it. It
Good.
could be expansion
Well,
of the.
not if we have to approve it.
Well, sure. I mean, I'm talking about expansion of the number of licenses.
Users,
Thank you.
access, yeah.
It looks like Ms. Pelly is getting up instead of Mr. Phillips, so I'm assuming that I'll call on Ms. Pelly next for our revised contract.
Morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have one item for your consideration this morning. Approval of a construction manager contract with Steel and Freeman, Inc. and Postel Group, LLC for construction management services, and approval of the guaranteed maximum price related to construction of the Juvenile Center project included in the 2006 Capital Improvement Program.
Y'all are getting real lucky.
I will move approval with a lecture to Steel, Freeman, and Postel Construction. And that is that your current level of minority participation is completely and wholly unacceptable. The 20% guideline may be a guideline, but for me, it is an absolute. And for you to come in with less than 5% is an affront to me personally. I expect you to do better than that. And I'm going to hold your feet to the fire and make sure that it happens.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. One question I have, I believe that the guaranteed maximum price is around 41 million.
Yes.
But then we say the total estimated project cost is about 53 million.
That's the total capital budget. So we have the 41 million for construction.
That's just the construction of the facility.
Yes.
The extra 12 million is for furniture, fixtures, everything else that goes on inside.
Correct.
Okay. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Glenn.
Move
Good morning.
To receive and file the personnel agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file the personnel agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We have 4 additional items for the court this morning. Item 2, we're asking the court to approve an out-of-class pay extension for Precinct 1. Commissioner Brooks is requesting this extension through April 3rd, the details of which are outlined in your communique. We're estimating the impact to the Road and Bridge Fund will be less than $1,000.
This is for a person working out of class while the incumbent is off on family medical leave. I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
The next item, item 3, we're asking the court to approve an extension for project employment for the Sheriff's Department. The sheriff is requesting, again, an extension for project employee. This individual from the sheriff's office has been assigned to the JMS project. This one-year extension, of course, would take this individual's employment through December of 2020. If approved by the court, the impact to the non-debt capital fund is approximately $129,000.
What's JMS?
It's our jail manager. It's Captain Clam's position.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what position was that?
It's Captain Clam's position.
When was this originally funded?
2 years ago.
Move approval.
Second.
You have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Next item is item 4. We're asking the court to approve 2 extensions for project employees in the district clerk's office. These extensions are one-year extensions and would take us through January of 2021. If approved by the court, these individuals are assigned to the long-term project of scanning documents, so that project continues. There is no impact to the general fund.
So where does the money come from?
It comes from...
It comes from the district clerk's records fee.
The legislature made permanent this last session. This is our imaging project on the long-term.
I'm familiar with it, Mr. Wilder. I asked a year ago why we didn't just convert these people to full-time employment so they could at least have benefits. This has been going on for 3 or 4 years.
It has been. And Commissioner, most of the vast majority of the temps who began in those positions have been moved into full-time positions. These 2 individuals, I believe, and Ange will correct me if I'm mistaken because she and I had a conversation about this. I think these 2 are the longest tenured, and they've been in those positions for 2 years. And as a reminder, project temps receive all benefits, just like the rest of us do, with the exception of they do not participate in our retirement program. But they accrue sick leave benefits, vacation benefits, just like you and I do. Get paid for the holidays when they're off, etc.
I think participation in the retirement system is a pretty important thing.
I don't disagree.
If one is going to be working full-time, long-term.
We would be happy to entertain some other ideas as long as we can pay for them out of that fund. We're paying for 12 people to do this, which is a long-term project going back to the 1870s.
You been here that long, Wilder?
Well, not quite yet.
You're working on it. Do I have a second? Do I even have a motion?
I don't recall.
Okay. Let's see if we can get a motion in a second first.
I move approval.
And I'll second it just for the sake of, I'm seconding things.
Can't we have full-time employees paid from a special fund?
That was another fund.
Well, okay, let's pause for just a moment. Helen?
Yes, they can be paid for out of special purpose budgets, full-time positions.
This was, again, I agree with what Commissioner Brooks is saying. I think for the last 10 or 12 years, we've had these project employees, and in all this time, they've been doing the same thing, scanning. Now, I'm glad to hear, it almost sounds like what we're doing is we're bringing them in here as project employees. We figure out whether we like the work that they do, and then they move on to other things.
Exactly so.
That's what we call a 6-month probation period. I guess what I'm just saying, Tom, is I agree. If we're giving them benefits, health, those types of benefits, vacation, things along that lines, But I do believe, as Commissioner Brooks has indicated, that the retirement is equally important. And I wonder, what is the stumbling block? Is it just our deciding we're going to offer pension benefits or convert these to full-time employees and therefore?
So, if my memory serves me correct, and I believe it does, back in the early days when we established this category of temporary employee, those individuals, those project temps, did participate in the retirement program. And then, here's where I'm getting foggy. I think that there were some changes made at TCDRS, and if Joyce were here, she could help me. She's not here. Where we were not allowed, I think because of maybe our requirements, I don't recall, I'd have to go back and revisit it, that then those individuals could not participate in the retirement piece of it. So I can go back, we can go back and revisit that, and if anybody from my office remembers better than I do, they're welcome to come up here and
Let me throw a little
fill
recollection
us
in
in.
there, which I'm sure is probably wrong. But as I recall, when we started this process, we thought it was going to be about a 4 or 5 year process to which we were going to have scanned all the material or all the documents that we needed to scan in, and we were going to be through. Well, in that situation, someone would not have had a chance to vest, so we would have been withdrawing the 7%. Now, they could have ended up taking it with them, I know, but still, it was like we didn't ever really expect these employees to be here long enough to vest, and therefore we were going to call them project employees so that we weren't taking retirement out of it. Now, you're shaking your head
I
like...
don't recall that.
Now,
So-
if I may interject, there are more than one of these projects. They're paid out of different funds. The project I think that you're referring to was the original imaging project, which is not the older records that this fee was created by the legislature for. These are 1950 cases going back to the oldest ones we have, which are in the 1870s. So you're talking about two different projects. That other one, when I came into office 25 years ago, the county was 10 years behind on microfilming. They had 10 years worth of cases they had not microfilmed. So that project was established for that, and we paid it out of a dedicated fund. We are well into that. This
We
other
haven't
one,
caught up yet?
no, sir. This was way more complicated than it originally appeared. These cases are not. You can run them through a little higher speed scanner, but much of it is still manual, depending upon the proficiency of the scanners. These people don't stay a long time in these positions. They are promoted. They're certainly considered on every promotion that we do. I think we just promoted one the other day. Thank goodness we have them. But this is a way for the county to get all their records digitized, which is already paying dividends on warehouse space. I just had a meeting yesterday with my staff for the 2020 game plan on not adding to records at the warehouse. We are already in equilibrium there, and I want to get on the plus side in this coming year because we are destroying large numbers of paper records.
But Tom, what I hear you saying is, yeah, you get these people here, and they do move on, and the reason they're constantly wanting to move on is so that they can get to the retirement.
If they can, some of them have pensions from other places. Like, for instance, the project leader of the 12 people that I just mentioned is a retiree from the post office. She's got a pension.
Well, just because you got one doesn't mean you
she'd
don't
have
want
to be
another.
here 8 years to get vested. Again, all we did was what we were told we had to do. When this program was set up, Debbie Schneider told us these had to be project people.
We can blame everything on Debbie now.
So
I'm just saying what my recollection
And I
is
agree,
and was.
and I'm sure that that's the case. I guess what we're just saying is, if the funds are there and available, I'm not convinced that as we look at that right now, that I wouldn't be more in favor of adding
and converting them from a project employee to a full-time employee, and thereby be able to provide the pension benefit along with the other benefits.
I will be happy to entertain such an idea if it fits. Again, all we've ever tried to do is fit the county slots.
I hear
If
you.
we can make a recommendation for the court, can we make a recommendation?
Why don't
for
you
your
make a
consideration?
recommendation for the court?
Okay, so
When we got into this, we never contemplated
Understand.
a project that would last this long.
So, since these individuals they live within the walls of the project itself, we really need to take just a few weeks to look at this. Let me recommend that the court do this. Let me recommend that you approve the request today, and that we will bring back a solution for you all to decide on in January. That will give us the time to look at it, because you can always move these individuals into a full-time position. We have to check the value in that account to make sure we can fund it. But we hear what you're saying. Just let us have a couple of weeks, and we'll bring that
Bring this
recommendation.
back to us in January?
Yes, sir, but we
Okay.
do ask that you pass this because we need to keep these people employed at the first
With
week
the
of January.
caveat of
Yes, sir.
your commitment to bring back a proposal, I'll move approval.
We done got the motion in a second now.
You got it?
We got it. So let's just vote.
Let's do it.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm expecting you all to breeze through this last item. Quick. So our last item, we're asking the court to approve for plan year 2020 our stop-loss coverage with United Healthcare Insurance as our vendor. And we provided you a little bit of information in your court communique. So just a quick recap, our Public Employee Benefit Cooperative staff conducted an RFP process earlier this year. We received 3 responses. 3 companies chose to respond. AM Winds, Sun Life, and United Healthcare. United Healthcare, by the way, is our current vendor. At our board meeting, I guess it was last week, it seems like it was longer than that. Commissioner Fickus is shaking his head. It was last week. The PEBC board went through the information gleaned from those proposals, and the recommendation from the board is renewal with United Healthcare effective 1/1/20. Again, United Healthcare is the current stop-loss vendor. And just as a refresher, and maybe this, Commissioner Alamis might be helpful to you, Tarrant County self-funds its medical plans, which means that we pay our own claims. So the only insurance that we have in place is what we call stop-loss insurance. I'm sure you're familiar with that. And Tarrant County elected a specific deductible of $500,000 a long time ago. It's been a decade or more. So what that means is as medical claims are filed, and so Tina Glenn has this horrible thing happening with her, and her medical claims exceed $500,000, because that's our specific deductible, then this stop-loss coverage or reinsurance then will pick up claims beyond that point. And so if I have a $1 million claim, what that means is Tarrant County pays $500,000, and then our stop-loss carrier will pay $500,000, so that the county net is out of pocket $500,000. So that's our specific deductible. So what we want to discuss with the court today, 2 things. The first is with regard to stop-loss coverage. The stop-loss coverage that we have in place only covers medical claims, not prescription claims. And so one of the recommendations being made by the consultant and passed along from the board is that we consider our deductible, the specific stop-loss coverage, actually include prescription as well as medical claims. The reason for that is that, as we all know, prescription coverage is very expensive. We've talked at our board meeting about some conditions where you can take 1 dose of a medication. The medication may cost, I don't know, lots and lots of money, and you have a cure for that particular condition. And so there are more drugs like that coming to market. We've talked about some of that during our committee meetings and our board meetings. And so one recommendation is that pharmacy now be included with medical. The second thing that we need some direction from the court on is our actual specific deductible. If you'll look at page 2 of your handout, or the second page of your handout, we've given you some information on our current coverage, again with a specific deductible of $500,000. We pay about $1.5, almost $1.6 million for that coverage. So that's the first information above the dark band that you see. That's current coverage with UHC. The entry right below that dark band is renewal with UHC for medical only. And then for medical pharmacy, again, we're recommending medical pharmacy. If that's the option selected, we're looking at an increase of about 1.08% or a premium of about $1,600,000, thereabouts. The second sort of entry, if you follow me down the page, would be a specific deductible of $550,000. That would result in a reduction of almost 12% to the premiums that we pay. Again, our recommendation is to include the pharmacy with the medical because of what the trends that we're seeing with drug cost. Our recommendation is also to keep the specific stop loss at $500,000. Audit and budget have run some calculations. I know that the judge has looked at this very closely, and we don't see a compelling need to increase the specific deductible because that increases our risk on the front end, $50,000 for every claim. So our recommendation is in 2 parts, that we keep specific stop loss at $500,000 and that we include pharmacy with medical when we consider stop loss.
At 500.
Pardon?
At 500.
Yes, ma'am.
Move approval of both those recommendations.
I'll second and agree with what Tina has said. We probably, through October, I believe we had at least 5 people who had already exceeded the $500,000 deductible. I will admit to you that I, until this year, was not aware that we were not including pharmacy. We have one pharmacy or one individual whose pharmacy by itself has exceeded the $500,000
threshold.
Really?
Yes. And we were told by United Healthcare a couple of years ago that we should begin to expect pharmaceutical costs to continue to rise, and that ultimately we could very easily see pharmaceutical costs exceed medical costs because there are drugs coming out for those diseases or for those conditions that will now cure them, but they cure them at a substantial cost. I mean, I think we've got an individual who's probably running somewhere between $50,000 and $60,000 a month for pharmaceutical costs. And it's one of those things where I will sleep a whole lot more comfortable at night as soon as January the 1st gets here, and I know we're covering both medical and pharmaceutical in our stop loss.
Makes sense.
Any other discussion or questions? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vinnie.
Good morning, Your Honor, members of the court.
Good morning.
Public Health has 2 items before you for consideration. Item number 1 is a request for approval for the Public Health Demonstration Year 8 Texas Medicaid 1115 waiver IGT payment to Health and Human Services. I believe the amount we're requesting that we send is about $923,000, and we expect about $2.1 million in return after the match.
Move for approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Second item is a request for approval for a service provider agreement between Tarrant County and Dr. Daniel Rausch for psychiatric services for patients of the Tarrant County Public Health Preventive Medicine Clinic. I believe the contract cap amount is about $20,000. And just for background, we've been trying to find a psychiatrist for a couple of years, so I really request that you approve this.
Move for approval.
Please. We're struggling.
So you're not struggling with all the other stuff you bring to us?
We are, but this is with special consideration.
You really need this person.
Yes, sir.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I don't see Jack back here. So where he's off hiding at?
He's on
Vacation.
vacation. He went to Arizona to see family.
Arizona, so they finally got smart and moved down to Arkansas? Be careful how you answer that.
No, his wife has a son that lives out there. He went to go visit the son and grandchildren.
Grandchildren.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, his wife retired, so she has him taking some time off now.
Thank God.
There's any number of comments I could make, but I'm just going to go ahead and stick with this.
I'm sure he sends his congratulations to LSU.
To LSU on our move to number one and defeat of the. You got any Bulldog fans in here?
Oh, yeah.
No Georgia fans?
Yeah, Candace.
She left
she
though.
Is.
Football.
Y'all been talking about that for about 3 years now, haven't you?
They got a bowl game. What's their
Well, they got a bowl game, but it's the toilet bowl.
Yeah.
Judge.
We were doing so good.
I miss Jack.
You do. I'll let him know. Court members, we have 3 items for your approval this morning. The first is an award recommendation for RFP number 2019-163. This is the purchase of body armor scanner for the Sheriff's Office, awarding to OD Security North in the amount of $108,750. If approved, we're also seeking contract approval.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Now, you said body armor.
I mean body scanner. Sorry, body scanner. It's a full body scanner.
Okay.
Just a question. Those are probably fairly common product. Is there a market? Is there a secondary market for refurbished ones, or is this a brand new one?
This is a brand new one. This is going to detect objects concealed internal and external. So I don't know about refurbished.
So when body scanners started making it onto the market, there were some refurbished ones that were being purchased from airports. That was many years ago, so that supply is dwindled or non-existent anymore. So most agencies now are just buying them.
Where is this going to be located?
It's going to be located in the booking area of the correction center. So everyone who's booked into the facility the scanner will be part of the booking process.
Okay. Thank you. Any other well, I don't have a motion or a second yet, I don't think. I've done. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
The second item is also an award recommendation for bid number 2019-223. This is an annual contract for sign shop supplies to the primary and secondary vendors listed in your court communique per unit price.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And the third and last item is regarding bid number 2020-037, an annual contract for ballot stock paper for elections administration, awarding to Hart InterCivic per unit price.
Move approval. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second.
I have a question.
Yes.
I guess since we bought the machines from them, is this one of those deals where they're the only people that can provide the paper?
Yeah, they were the only response we received, and we were told that they had a pending patent on it. It's just not an approved patent. So we put it out for bid, and they were the only response.
The other thing that I think, I mean, that is a discussion point. One of the things that I would say is that the machines, as I understand it, determined based upon the thickness of the paper. You know, it's like, okay, in case there would be two ballots that would be together, that's why it would reject. So, I mean, it may come down to that. I know that that's been a question that both Hyder and Jack have talked about. To be very honest, I'd sure like to get through this next big election without having people pointing fingers at whose paper it was that messed up. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Commissioner Fickus, I believe you have an interlocal agreement.
I do. I actually have two. I have an interlocal agreement between the county and the city of Southlake on work on Crooked Lane, and between the county and the city of Grapevine on work on Boyd Road, and move approval of both of those items. L1, A, B, C, and D.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Are there any appointments today?
Yes. I need to be reappointed to Arlington TIF 1, 5, and 6. Theirs is on an annual basis, and in order for them to reappoint me, then I need for us to reappoint me.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. You have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the claims, including the addendum. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Manion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have three items to bring to you this morning. The first is an update by MedStar. Mr. Doug Houlihan, who is the CEO of MedStar, is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing us to give you this annual update. You've got a copy of our annual report and a copy of this presentation, so please feel free to review that at your leisure. Tarrant County is a major stakeholder for us in the MedStar system, and we truly value the numerous partnerships and people included in your briefing package, so thank everyone that's in there. Just to be respectful of your time, I just want to highlight three key things for you and then answer any questions that you might have. First is just sort of a misunderstanding that happens with MedStar a lot, is we're a regional authority. So a lot of people think that we're a private enterprise. We're really not. We're a governmental body that was established in 1986 to provide regional provisions of EMS in Tarrant County. So that said, that sort of allows us to operate a little bit as a private enterprise, which keeps us performing at the levels that you'll see in your presentation that we've sort of highlighted for you, and we've continued to do that without any tax dollars, which is a little bit amazing and scares me most years. MedStar is one of the highest performing and most recognized EMS agencies in the country. We're dual accredited by the Commission for the Accreditation of Ambulance Services, and our 911 Center is accredited Center of Excellence by the International Academies of Emergency Dispatch. There's a mouthful. Our innovations to prevent 911 calls and unnecessary ER visits have received national and even international acclaim. But while sort of making sure that we're cost effective in that endeavor, we continue to keep our costs in check, and that's been proven by recently a report that was given to the state Medicaid office that we have the lowest cost for responses and transports in the state. So we're pretty proud of that. The EMS authority currently serves 15 member jurisdictions, Fort Worth and 14 suburban cities. But we're exploring new partnerships with other jurisdictions and entities who may want to join our partnership with the authority. The Tarrant County Emergency Services District could be one of those entities that we're certainly talking with. We've recently had conversations with the county fire marshal about this option, and we'll continue to do that. So once again, brevity, thank you so much for allowing me to present this, and I'll take any questions.
I have a question about the location of your North Deployment Center. I couldn't read on the map. Where is that exactly?
It's off Tarrant County Parkway, so right there by Medical City Alliance.
You're on the east side of I-35?
We're on the east side of I-35, yes. Sort of right behind where the new Fort Worth police station is, substation. That's a 20,000 square foot facility. We'll dispatch 14 to 18 ambulances out of that location specifically.
We're talking about building that. So,
What percentage of your volume is City of Fort Worth?
Probably close to 75 to 80%.
any other questions? Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Doug. Members of Court, on item B, this is the end-of-year update by the Tarrant Council on Family Violence. Ms. Michelle Morgan, who is the chair of that organization, is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me, for sure. So I stand before you, obviously representing the Tarrant County Council on Family Violence. Every October for several standing years, we've asked for a proclamation, and you have graced us and honored us. But the executive committee thought that it would be time to be a little bit more accountable and give you all an update of the work that is going into our community. And so first, the mission of our council is to develop and promote a comprehensive and effective community effort to reduce family violence, domestic violence, intimate partner violence in Tarrant County. We accomplish this through a couple of key areas. One, focusing on those specific issues. Secondly, offering a collective voice from partner agencies. Providing community-wide trainings, forums, and summits about domestic violence and intimate partner violence. And then also enhancing our membership's knowledge of continuing to bring training to all of our members. I stand before you representing a very large group of individuals. Currently, we look through our membership, we have around 30 agencies that are at the table with about 50 to 60 active members from each of those 30 agencies that participate in the council. The executive committee, I tried to get several of them to talk before you, and somehow I drew the short stick. But that executive committee, some of them could be here today, and I would like to acknowledge them. Darylyn Pearman is the vice chair. She's with the Texas Board of Criminal Justice and UTA adjunct faculty. Rachel Aliano is the secretary of the council, and she is at the office of Judge Whitley. Lori Clarida is with the Tarrant County Sheriff's Department, Victim Assistance. Catherine Jacob is the CEO of Safe Haven of Tarrant County. Merrick Klapovich is a deputy director of Legal Aid of Northwest Texas. Sergeant Tyler Stillman with Bedford Police Department. Lacey Hensley is a director of intake and client services at One Safe Place. Elizabeth Page is with Disabled Crime Victims Assistance, and Stephanie Thompson is with the Office of Tarrant County Commissioner Roy Brooks. Those individuals, if they are here, could you please stand for me? I just want to take an opportunity to acknowledge the work and the leadership. They're an amazing group of individuals that dedicate their work within their own organizations and then volunteer their time to serve on this council, and I absolutely appreciate their efforts. So the purpose and goal of today's meeting is to kind of provide a review of what the council activities have been, spotlight a few of those organizations, and then demonstrate what that coordinated impact has been throughout the community. So I'd first like to start with our Community Awareness Committee. We've done some marketing enhancements on the logo and the webpage. The council's attended multiple community fairs where we've had outreach to at least over 1,000 community members, and then our annual securement of the proclamation from you all as well. And then one of the things 3 years ago that we started annually doing was our Remembrance event. We hold this in October for National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. The council implemented this event, to be completely frank, because we were very frustrated. We were frustrated that individuals in our community were dying at the hands of those that were supposed to love them. So first, with that event, we honor those individuals that are no longer with us. And then secondly, we raise awareness of intimate partner violence in an effort to prevent further homicides from occurring within our community. And so that's the fabulous work that committee has done. And then we have an underserved committee that has done multiple things. After Senate Bill 4 was passed in 2017, national stories flooded the media. One specifically was in El Paso. A domestic violence victim was detained by ICE agents after receiving a protective order inside a courthouse. This was stunning, and we had never seen this sort of action happen in Texas before. As a result, what the local social service agencies began to see an immediate decline in the number of undocumented survivors that were seeking services. So the Underserved Committee really band together for those first 2 years and really wanted to focus on that particular issue, and they did many activities surrounding community outreach to the underserved survivors so they could still know that they could still go to social service agencies and seek those services. Moving into 2020, their focus is going to be domestic violence within the LGBTQ community as well. And so then we move on to our civil and our criminal justice committee. This took a little bit longer for our committee to get together, but right now they are our most active committee. One of the things that they did this last year is that they hosted a judges training on non-fatal strangulation. They partnered with nationally recognized experts in the field from Alliance for Hope International. We had 22 participants from magistrates, family courts, and criminal court judges that attended. We had 100% of those participants believe that the presenters were effective and that the course was helpful to their duties. Out of these magistrates, family court and criminal court judges, they asked for more training. Like, that's usually not a thing that they would want. And then they asked for the training to be longer. So that was a huge win. And then one of those individuals commented that the training that they received, that they now understand the relationship between strangulation and homicide and domestic violence. They wish that they would have known this information sooner. So that committee has done some fantastic work in the field. And then in the presentation, I have a spotlight on 3 separate law enforcement agencies. We wanted to spotlight the work that the City of Arlington, the City of Bedford, and the City of Fort Worth is doing in particular. This is a lot of information on each of these slides. So what I'm going to do is kind of give you the trends of what these 3 agencies, what we're seeing with them. Number 1, we've seen a collective movement in personnel enhancements. They are increasing their sworn staff and specialized units for high-risk detectives or other family violence detectives, and also victim advocates that are solely focused on issues surrounding domestic violence. We've also seen an increase in each of these organizations are doing more training and more training, really specific in that area of strangulation. And not only are they receiving more training, they are then dispersing that training outward into the community, into their own recruits, into their patrol officers, and then into other jurisdictions as well. We're also seeing these agencies look at new response models, do things outside the box that they otherwise hadn't done, where they're conducting follow-up visits and safety visits. City of Fort Worth has a new pilot project that is just getting off the ground in Northwest Division, focusing on more of a focused deterrence model in collaboration with the District Attorney's Office. And then lastly, what we're seeing from all 3 of these agencies is collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. Most significantly with social service agencies. All three of them are participants in the Tarrant County Domestic Violence High Risk Team, which is led by Safe Haven of Tarrant County. Many of them have received trauma training from the Women's Center, and then One Safe Place also sends mobile advocates to each of those agencies to meet with survivors in those specific communities. All of the work that these law enforcement agencies is doing is changing the landscape in our community, and we wanted to make sure that we highlighted that. And then we move into Tarrant County Community Supervisions and Corrections Departments. What we've seen from them is they have a formation of intimate partner violence caseloads. They are utilizing evidence-based risk assessment tools specific to intimate partner violence. In partnership with Safe Haven of Tarrant County, they've also created a high-risk offender a batterers intervention and prevention program, and then also a high-risk intimate partner violence pretrial caseloads. What you may not see here, what CSCD has done, it has been absolutely huge. Before in our community, we were really treating domestic violence offenders just like any other offender, like a guy that may steal a vehicle. We were really treating them the same way. With all these changes that they've implemented within the last 2 years, now we are really specializing in intimate partner violence and domestic violence cases. And so their changes have been huge. A lot of our community focus has always been on the victim, the victim, the victim. And now what we see with some of these changes is there's been a switch in landscape where the attention is now being drilled into the offender and the person that continues to have those sorts of actions. And then we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about some of the other agencies. When you look at all the social service agencies across the board, Safe Haven of Tarrant County, One Safe Place, the Women's Center, we're all collectively continuing to see an increase in the number of victims that are being served. But that doesn't mean that we have more crime. What that means is that we're a community and we're doing a better job of getting the word out, and that's what we want to continue to see. And then lastly, prosecution. The Tarrant County District Attorney's Office is leading the way. They have fundamentally improved the way domestic violence cases are prosecuted, holding our offenders more accountable for their actions. And then not only that, our DA is absolutely holding our law enforcement personnel accountable as well, and is working in tandem with them to demonstrate and roll out new initiatives. And so we are very proud of the work that they are doing. In conclusion, when we look at your strategic plan, goal number 4 in your strategic plan is that we would enhance the satisfaction level for residents and businesses of Tarrant County through effective delivery and equitable administration of justice, public safety, health, transportation, and human and other services. The Tarrant County Council on Family Violence is working towards your same efforts, and we won't stop until we reach our goal of 0 intimate partner violence homicides within Tarrant County. Judge, commissioners, we'd like to thank you for your continued support. I know that I recognize our leadership committee, but I have many other members from the council that are present, and I would love to have each of them stand and recognize all of them publicly. So if you're a member of the council, if you please stand. Thank you for this time. Was this helpful?
Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Yep.
Or thank you very much for everything you do.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Finally, members of the court, our last briefing is a report from the county's property assessed clean energy program. Ms. McMillan is here to lay the program out.
So on November 12th, 2017, the Commissioners Court approved the establishment of the Property Assessed Clean Energy, or PACE, program in Tarrant County, which enables owners of commercial, industrial, and multifamily residential properties to obtain low-cost, long-term loans through private sector lenders for water conservation, energy efficiency, and renewable retrofits to their facilities. The county contracts with Texas PACE Authority to administer this program, and today we have Charlene Heidinger, who's the director of Texas PACE Authority, to give us a report on the program activities for PACE in Tarrant County since its inception.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm so pleased to be here and very grateful for the county's leadership in being among the first to create this program and your patience in helping us and your patience as it's taken a while to roll out. But finally, and most importantly, I really appreciate the leadership of the county in enabling us to do this in a highly ethical way with a high bar of underwriting and technical standards to make sure these projects are successful. I'm very grateful. So, very quickly, just to remind you, this is private financing. The county spends no money on this, no taxpayer dollars are used. You've created a mechanism that allows industrial, commercial, and multifamily property owners to obtain long-term financing for anything that makes their property more energy efficient, water efficient, or to create power on site. And the savings resulting from those projects are used to repay the financing. And so the county created a mechanism without financial responsibility, et cetera. We're here to make sure from a fiduciary standpoint that these projects are successful. And this was a wonderful year. Real estate projects generally take about a year, and so this was a great year in Tarrant County. 4 projects closed. They brought $15.4 million in new energy and water efficiency investment into the county, creating, using a DOE formula number, 191 jobs. But it's more than that. These savings resulted in 5 million gallons of water being saved. That also means they don't have to be treated in your wastewater facilities. We saved 4.7 million in kilowatts annual. These are annual numbers. Almost 16,000 BTUs. And all of this resulted in over 3,000 tons fewer carbon dioxide being put into your air. The first project was extremely meaningful. This is ACH's Family Child Services campus. On this campus, they built a building to house youth that are a danger to themselves and those around them. And they were able to, through this $500,000 financing mechanism, buy or purchase or put into that building higher quality energy and water saving materials that are going to lower their operating costs on that building going forward. And that's really the key, helping people do this the right way so they don't condemn by cutting back to the least expensive that they can build, doing it right so that over time their operating costs are lower for themselves and whatever tenants they might have. The second project was the first PACE project in Texas involving a building on the National Historic Register. This is the former XTO Energy headquarters. It was originally a bank building. It will be a beautiful hotel. And because of this program, its HVAC, LED lighting, and natural gas water heater are going to result in savings for the community and for everyone involved in that building. This project is just outside of the Stockyards area. This historic theater, the new ISIS Theater, is going to be completely renovated. This is a project where, when I spoke about the 191 jobs, that doesn't include the permanent jobs that are created when an empty building is brought back to life. So this is a very exciting project. Of your 4 projects, 2 of them are nonprofit, this one and ACH. That's also quite meaningful for us. The last project demonstrates that we are here to serve all of Tarrant County. This one's in Grapevine. And this is a hotel that is getting a new life. It's getting renovated in a way that will lower the cost for that building and the tenants or the guests in that hotel. So each of the projects, including the ISIS Theater, which I didn't put on this, each of them obtained the written consent of the mortgage bank. This is a senior lien that jumps ahead of a mortgage, but the business plans on these are good and solid, benefiting the value of the collateral, making the owner of these buildings cash flow positive. We will not approve a project unless the savings resulting from this project exceed the cost of the repayment. So that cash flow nature, positive nature, makes it easier for these folks to pay their mortgages. So with a good business plan, these will move forward. We have grown. We now, actually yesterday, Fisher County joined the program, so we now serve 34 local governments. Fisher. It's a...
Rotating?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Roby. So delighted to. So that's the idea. By having this be uniform across the state with everyone using the same paper, we can serve everyone, and that we're not just chasing the big projects in the big cities, but that we will serve all of Texas. Even if they have one project every 10 years, it still should be available. So we had a good year, and it has taken a while for this program to catch on. Of the $60 million in projects that closed this year, a quarter of that happened in Tarrant County. We closed 9 projects, 4 of them are in Tarrant County. So the healthcare community is a community we haven't reached yet, and we look forward to doing that. And in conclusion, I have a request. That is, now that we have projects on the books and we can show folks the program is we're proving the model. We need to reach out to all communities in Tarrant County. If you've got Rotary clubs, chambers, economic development groups in your districts, it would be a pleasure and a privilege to come in and meet with them and show them that it really works. It's more than a good idea now. In addition, we've committed to serve all communities in all corners of Tarrant County, including underserved communities. So when we go do our trainings for contractors, architects, and engineers, we want to make sure that we're reaching all of those organizations and bringing this to all parts of the community. So you can help me with that if you would be so kind as to share with me groups that you would like us to go meet with. We will follow up with that. And then finally, smaller projects, small businesses are a little bit of a challenge as we have lenders who love the big projects. So we'll continue to work with local banks and local funders to bring them into the program so that they can become PACE lenders, and all parts of your precincts can benefit from this new economy. We thank you for the privilege of serving you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions at this time? Thank you very much.
I don't have a question, but I would like to meet separately since I wasn't on the court at the time that this was originated, just so I can get a better understanding and hopefully provide those recommendations you requested.
Thank you. We will follow up. Okay. Thank you.
That's all we have at this time, Your Honor.
And we'll recess our open meeting, proceed to close to discuss items exempted under Section 551.07107.2. There being no business to conduct at this time, we're adjourned.